Top five, top five, top five.
Send time to go back with another video. I'm Strange Wayne. He is Nate. Today we're doing top 5 cat and mouse game movies for the film The Little Things. Because what we saw from the trailer, it looked like a cat and mouse game movie.
It did.
They're playing games with each other, but we're not here to play games. We're here to talk movies. And how do we talk about movies?
So he's going to start with his 5 and 4. I'll give my 5 and 4, 3-2, 3-2. Then we'll trade off number ones. We also have something called the Zemeckis rule, which just means if we both have the same movie on our list, but the other person has it 2 spots higher, they'll call out Zemeckis. And we're not going to talk about it until we get to it on their list.
That's facts. And we'll start off with the Zemeckis rule because making these lists is our favorites. So sometimes you got to put the best movies a little bit in the back because they deserve to be on the list, but they're not your favorites. And my number 5 is No Country for Old Men.
That is a Zemeckis, yeah.
I figured as much. My number 4 is, I don't think it'd be a Zemeckis, but it came down to 2 Arnold movies, 3, and this was the most cat and mouse out of all of them, is the Terminator. What I like about this movie is Sarah Connor.
Mm-hmm.
She shouldn't live at the end, but by gone it she does, and you just have such a compelling. The science fiction really complements the story because it makes it different from all the other cat and mouse games on my list. And if I made a top 10 list, it would separate those two. And I have Schwarzenegger, this like cyborg, and he's just like this force of nature, coming at you, and it's just like you're trying to process all this information. This guy's trying to kill you. Your roommate, your best friend, died because of this man. There's just so much to process, and to put yourself in her shoes, it puts you in, like, when you really get invested in this movie, like you watch it 10 years from the first time you watched it and you really get invested, like I did, you really get in the same sort of panic as she does.
Yeah.
And that investment in the rooting for her is so much higher because it's like Schwarzenegger, yeah, he's obviously his best role is the Terminator.
Yeah.
T-800.
Definitely his most iconic.
That's a fact.
So this guy is like sort of like Michael Myers, you know, like,
yeah, sure,
it's a look.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The look is nailed, but from her, it's just like that's where your investment comes, and it really gets you invested in this cat and mouse game. So Terminator will be my number 4. Predator, close to being my number 4, but it's like they're in the same ballpark.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say they're on the same level.
Right.
I'm sure there's some jabroni that played out there with Babe Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
So it was close.
Yeah, that's fair. So my number 5, I was in a similar situation in that it was going to be one of 2 movies here, both by an excellent director. But I went with 7 over Zodiac. So yeah, like what I've learned when making this list is my favorite cat and mouse are definitely movies. Cat and mouse movies are ones that are crime related. But this isn't just like a regular crime movie. This is trying to catch a serial killer, right?
Yeah.
So, which is funny because so is Zodiac, but yeah, it's just like the cat and mouse aspect of this caught me more than the other one, mostly because they never catch the Zodiac killer, and we still have no idea who that dude is. So the mouse won, and that doesn't happen a lot.
They actually, some people who were locked down in Britain,
they cracked one of his last ciphers. Yeah, I saw that. So, but anyways, 7, not a real killer. But like the pairing that you have in this with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, and he who must not be named is the bad guy, which like makes him an even better bad guy now, honestly. So, but like the clues it's just like the game itself, like the clues he leaves, them almost catching him that one time, and then the way that like kind of nobody wins at the end, but like so morally he wins, but physically they win. As a really interesting story in like an interesting way to tell like a cat and mouse style story. Number 4 for me is going to be another crime drama. It's going to be Heat. Man, I love that movie so much. And again, it's like what it comes down to so much is like who the leads in these films are and like the chemistry between like cat and mouse, right? So, or whatever their dynamic is. So like, you know, having like the clear good versus the clear bad is just super interesting. Getting to see like De Niro in this type of role Like normally he's playing just kind of like I love De Niro. He's a phenomenal actor.
No shit.
Homie gets typecast as the gangster a lot. And that's what he wants to do. So I don't know if you really call that typecasting, but getting to see him kind of switch roles and chase one down. Pacino is kind of like in this middle Pacino. Like he's not like the full blown like crazy Pacino yet, but he's not like still like the guy. He's beyond the Godfather, but he's not like full blown. So like you get the best of both in this. So their dynamic itself and just like watching them try to stay a step ahead of each other. That one scene where they finally have a confrontation around all these containers and stuff, the way that it's cut and you have like no idea who is where is incredibly tense and like just a beautiful climax. So it's my number 4.
I love some beautiful climaxes.
Yeah, especially when it happens at the same time.
It does. It was pretty great. Bring back memories. Easy, big fella.
Ooh.
Next we have... Alright, get back in front, guy. You're messing up the quality. Next, my number 3. Remember, these are our favorites. And this is one of my favorites films of all time because I love the cat so much and I love the mouse so much. And it's hard because, like, the character-wise, these guys are fucking off the charts. Like, if it's on 1 to 10, they're off the charts.
No, this is about to be a Zemeckis.
Charisma. I don't think so. They're off the charts, amazing characters. The story is the lacking part, but I'll still love the story, and it is Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh.
Buford T. Justice. Oh my god, what a fucking buffoon. And I love every minute of it, because he's the ass of every joke. He's a terrible cat, but his fucking charisma, his dialogue is off the charts. It's so entertaining. And then you got Burt Reynolds, one of the coolest motherfuckers in the 1970s and 80s, playing the Bandit. And his machismo and charms off the charts, complimented by Sally Field, who's a babe in this movie. And like their little dynamic. And then when they meet in the diner, and Buford T. Justice is like, I need 2 Diablo sandwiches and a Dr. Pepper. Make it hurry. I'm in a goddamn police chase. And he's like, I'll be right back. I gotta take a squirt. And like, he's fucking, like they meet. He meets the person he's been chasing through all these cities and towns and whatnot.
Yeah.
Wrecking cop cars left and right. And he's like, oh, I'll buy your lunch for you. Like, what a, such a good scene. And they're back and forth on the monitor. I mean, not, what's the police
The
thing
CB
called?
radio?
Yeah, the CB radio is fucking amazing. Did I spit on you?
No, you're good.
I thought I did.
Yeah.
Fucking, this movie, entertainment values on a 100%. I love this movie so much. I talk about it all the time. And because it's so amazing. Jackie, like, I don't know who I like more. I think I have to go with Jackie Gleason and Buford T. Justice because, like, he has that Archie Bunker type of humor.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
right.
He's not a good person and he's a buffoon about how he goes about things.
Right.
And that's where the humor is.
Yeah.
Because he's a loser at the end.
Because they make it clear that he's also an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie's phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. I'm sad I didn't think about it.
It's
honestly.
fucking good.
That
It was
a good
hard.
one.
It was
also
hard.
like maybe one of the few like cat and mouse style movies where like you spend most of your time with the mouse.
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
And it's like hard on the comedy too. My number 2 might have been the one you was thinking of. And it is Catch Me If You Can.
Okay. That's my number 1.
Well, again, I could say obviously the same exact thing as I said for Smokey and the Bandit about the characters being off the charts amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But the story matches how amazing the characters are. Where Smokey and the Bandit, I feel like the story takes a back seat to the characters, which is fine. Like, it's a great fucking movie. But this one, everything's elevated because they're in a relationship together.
That's right, man. That's right.
Yeah.
And everything's going up higher. Steven Spielberg's director, obviously, is going to be amazing. Again, when they meet for the first time,
Yeah.
and he fucking shites his way out of there. I love shyster movies, so like this one's very high for me. In any list I could put it on. Just like them butting heads constantly. Every time they meet, it's fucking, you're on the edge of your seat. You're grabbing the seat and you're like,
Yeah.
what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with all of that. It's definitely, for me, the reason it's my number 1 is just like their relationship. Because it's like there's just this weird respect coming from Leo's character for him. It's like he wants his attention, like he needs it because like he's got daddy issues, and like that's like a more subtle part of the film that like the first time you watch it you don't really pick up on as much, but once you either hear someone explain it or you really start paying attention, you really kind of pick up on that part of like, yeah, he's not doing this just to toy with Tom Hanks. Like, he's not calling him for no reason. He's calling him because he needs that attention. And he's like, the fact that Tom Hanks is obligated to give him his attention because it's his job and he has to catch him, it just creates this really interesting dynamic. So like, even watching that like turn into mutual respect to the point to where they're like borderline friends at the end of it. And I would like to think that in real life they did end up becoming friends because Frank Abagnale ended up working for the FBI after he got caught and everything. So that's what does it for me. And plus it's just like, you know, there's no gunfights. Like they're not trying to kill each other. And that's like kind of a different aspect. Like there's nobody's murdering anyone. It's literally just like this guy is a master forger and a criminal. Yeah. And Tom Hanks is just like such the lawful good that like he cannot stand that there's someone out there taking advantage of people.
Lawful good for real, because like he tries to get him out of like a terrible prison to put him in like
truly a lawful good character, like to a T. So that's what I love about it.
Another thing I love about this movie is it reminds me of a real cat and mouse. Well, not a real cat and mouse, a fake cat and mouse. Tom and Jerry. Yeah. Because there are some times where Jerry's the mouse, correct?
Yes.
He would just go fuck with Tom for no reason. He'd be bored. He's like, I'm going to go fuck with this guy real quick. And that's kind of what he did, you know, to get his attention. And then, depending on the episode of Tom and Jerry, they would be friends at the end. They walk off to the sunset together. And then the next episode, they're beating each other with fucking the kitchen sink, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I love about their relationship. What's your number 3?
So my number 3 is The Fugitive.
We made a top 10. If we made a top 10.
Yeah. I love this movie a lot. I don't think there's too much that needs to be said about The Fugitive. You know, Harrison Ford, one of my favorite actors of all time. The way this dude delivers lines, like, it's just so stoic and calm, right? Like, even when the finger pointing, man, it's so good. Like, even when he's like amped up and angry, it still comes off as like so reserved, you know? And he does a lot of like facial, like the only way you could ever tell that he's scared is by his facial expressions, right? So yeah, getting to like watch him go through what he has to go through, because that's rough, right? Because
is it rough? Because I really don't care.
Whack.
But like, yeah, getting framed for something and like, you know, it's just like this dude's in a tight spot, right? And it's like, how many people would do what he did to try to avoid going down for that, you know? Like, how many people are just going to trust in the justice system and just be like, okay, take me in, but I didn't do it, and I'm going to prove it in court. This guy's like, nah, I'm going to find this out myself, and Tommy Lee Jones can kick rocks. And then, obviously, like, the iconic, I didn't kill my wife, and I don't care response. Because it's like, that just shows that the cat has no interest in what is right and wrong. Like, he has a job to do, he's gonna do what he was told to do, and that is terrifying to me that people like that could exist. But it makes for a really good cat.
I love at the end too, where he's like, "I told you I didn't kill my wife." He's like, "Yeah, I was doing my job."
Yeah,
and
right. Like, still just like, does not care. Yeah,
what a great mouse.
Yeah, for sure.
Cat.
And then my number 2 was the Zemeckis from earlier, which was No Country for Old Men.
I just realized my number one's not on your list.
So freaking tense. And that's what really does it for me. Like, this is the most, to me, out of all these films, this is the most edge of your seat game of cat and mouse.
It's debatable.
Also because it's like, there's really 2 cats and 1 mouse. And then one of the cats is kind of the mouse for the other cat. So it's like a really interesting dynamic. And so just watching how they're all like, other than like the one confrontation with Josh Brolin and Javier Bardem's character, or that's the only time that any of them even get close to the other one. But other than that, they just stay equal distance apart the entire film. So it's just like an incredibly fruitless chase, which is the point of Tommy Lee Jones's monologue at the end of the film. But that is just something that's really interesting to me because you don't get like the satisfying, like the mouse tricked the cat or the cat got the mouse ending. It's like they chased and that was it. Like Anton Chigurh doesn't get to kill Josh Brolin. Tommy Lee Jones doesn't get to put anyone in jail, and he doesn't get to save Josh Brolin. And that's rough, but it's a different enough approach to the film that makes it incredibly interesting.
That's why I made my list, because it's like, look at all the amazing cat and mouse games that could have been on this list, like The Fugitive, Silence of the Lambs, Seven Zodiac.
Yeah.
This one is so different from those that it changed the game. Because, yeah, there's this weird triangle cat and mouse situation where the roles switch up. Mm-hmm. But then you got Woody Harrelson,
right,
like, edging them on.
Yeah, he's like the dog from Tom and Jerry.
Exactly.
The doghouse.
And the main mouse doesn't get eaten by the cat. It gets caught in a trap.
Yeah,
you know, it gets caught in the mouse trap. It's so different and so dynamic from anything else in the genre.
Yeah. In
the small subgenre it is, that I had to put on the list.
Yeah.
My number one, I'm very sad it's not on your list.
I probably just forgot about it.
Cape Fear. The original 1960s Cape Fear.
I didn't forget about it. There were just elements
I'm
of
insulted.
it. There were just elements of it that weren't like cat and mousey enough for me.
To me, it hits on every level because... So one, it's no surprise that I love Max Cady. Like, everything about him, his cadence and his voice, counselor. It's like the word choice of the 60s and everything is just like incredible. And Gregory Peck, you know, like, you obviously view him on this pedestal because his famous role is Atticus Finch.
Yeah.
So it's like, you used to see them like, and this is also different from any other cat and mouse game movie. Also, they have so much contact with each other.
Yeah, they're constantly interacting. Yeah.
And like, that's what I like about it, because like Robert Mitchum's character, also one of my favorite actors of all time, so it's like, that's a plus for me, is like, because he's constantly fucking with him and making sure he knows about it, the tension, because like sooner or later he's gonna fucking hit him.
Yeah.
He gets very close on the boat, like the dock scene,
right,
and it's like, okay, like, where is he gonna go next? The tension is, where is he gonna go next, and when is he gonna have enough and finally be like, Max Cady, I'm kicking your ass.
Yeah.
Or whatever happens. And the build up, because like, he like fucking chases Max Cady, that is, chases his daughter to the point she runs into the street in fear and gets hit by a car, kills their dog, breaks into their house, constantly calling them. Fucking, he beats up a woman to show he cannot go to jail. Like, you're not going to get me arrested. Like, you got me arrested. You put me in prison one time, but it's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
So, like, the constant poking at him is so different from maybe cat and mouse game, because, like, the cat may not always get the mouse. However, there's going to be a lot of contact with him. Yeah. And this mouse didn't want to get him. Like, that's so like, interesting to me. It's like, he didn't want to get him. He's like, I'm going to fuck with you. He's kind of gaslighting them almost.
Yeah, in a sense.
Like,
well, but he's not, because he is doing all those things.
Yeah.
But he's trying to yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like, it's not clear who killed his dog, but you know who killed his dog.
You know who killed his dog.
It's not clear who's calling on the phone, but you know who's calling on the phone and hanging up, stuff like that.
He's being incredibly manipulative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this movie is, as much as you root for Gregory Peck, there's also this real coolness to Max Cady's character.
No, he's terrible.
Because Robert Mitchum is like, his screen presence speaks for itself for me in any movie, not just Cape Fear. But to me, the way it builds and everything, it had to be my number one. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's my favorite thriller of all time, and thriller is probably my favorite genre of movies. So one of my favorite movies of all time too. Nothing's better than the Cape Fear in my personal book. Tell me what's in your personal book of cat and mouse games or thrillers. I'm gonna go ahead and make it wide. But scroll back up, hit the like button, share the video. subscribe.